but especially my mother, because my mother accepted everybody. And she was very positive. She was a very positive person. I don't know, but she was. We found out late that she was manic depressive. So she must have been in a constant manic state.
Mm-hmm.
And when she took a job, when she organized all kinds of things. She organized the Parent Teacher Association in Milford, Connecticut. She's got it started. Nobody else had ever thought about that. And she was always involved in stuff. And it seemed to be right to me. She enjoyed it, and it made sense to me. But the thing that was, she didn't care what color anybody was, but there weren't very many colored people in the area in which we lived. The year that I was 11, between 11 and 12, Milford has summer homes as well as winter homes. Summer homes that don't have furnaces and basements and stuff.
Three-season houses.
Across the street, directly across the street from the house that we lived on, was a summer home. And the year that I was 11, a minister of some Protestant denomination, I have no idea what, and his family moved in for the winter across the street. There was no furnace. I don't know how they kept warm that winter. And I don't remember how old their children were, but they were young. And they had a African-American, a mulatto girl. If she wasn't all that dark, she was African-American, but not 100%. Her name was Junia Jackson, and I don't remember the minister's name or anything else, but she was 12. And I was headed for 12. And the school was a 4-room school. It had 2 grades in each of the 4 rooms, and I was in the 7th and 8th grade room, and so was Junia. And I got moved into the 8th grade in the middle of the year because I knew all the 7th grade work. And we did both at the same time. I mean, first he would work with the 7th graders, then he'd work with the 8th graders while the 7th graders worked on their lessons, and it was just very easy to keep track of what was going on. And I was always a good reader. In those days I read fast. Now I hardly read at all, but anyway, Junior was in that same class. There was not another child my age anywhere nearby. There were 2 boys who were the same age as Malcolm and Mimi. And they were twins, so they always had somebody to play with. And then they had Chester Anderson, who was one Anderson family, and Georgie Anderson, who was another Anderson family, who were their age. So there were 4 of them at that age. But there was nobody for me, and there was Junia. And so that was the most wonderful thing that could happen to me. We were the best friends that whole year. That whole year. And I think that was one of the greatest blessings of my life, that I had an African-American friend. And it never occurred to me that you discriminate against her. I had been discriminated against when we first moved to Milford. I had a kid throw a stone at me during recess. The first year I was in there, which was when I was 9, and we moved in for the winter time too. It ended up that his father and my father were the 2 who built my father's boat. And my father and his father were great friends.
Why did he discriminate against you? Because you were Jewish?
Yeah, he threw a stone at me during recess, and he yelled, "You're a dirty Jew." And I came home for lunch because it was only 2 blocks away. And I said to my mom, "I'm not dirty. I had a bath and yesterday, and I'm not dirty. Why did he do that?" And she had to explain it to me. I guess he got hell because I think my mother probably called his mother. And it didn't take long for that to be settled. But I knew what discrimination was, and I don't know whether I knew that. I mean, in New York, where I grew up in Brooklyn, was all Jewish. So how did I know? I mean, anyway, Junia and I had a wonderful time. We played dolls. We made cities out of grass and twigs and dirt. We played in the dirt. We had a wonderful time. And, I mean, she was my only friend. So she was obviously my best friend. And that was such a blessing.
And what happened to her? Did they move away?
We never kept, I was only going on 12, and I never bothered to carry on. We may have written a couple of times,
But she moved?
They moved away before summertime,
Mm.
right at the end of school, because that was when they could rent out the cottage across the way for the summer. And then it would be Jewish, always. There was that whole area became Jewish in the summer. And so I don't know. And then when I was in high school, because I went to high school when I was 12, I graduated about 2 weeks after I became 16 from Smith, so which was too young. It would have been much better if I'd been a little older. But anyway.
You graduated from Smith when you were 16?
Well, I was born in 1919, and I graduated in 1935, so you do the math.
No, you went to school when you were You went to Smith when you were 16.
I went to Smith when I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I graduated.
From high school.
I graduated
Still pretty darn
a week
young.
after
Yeah,
I
it
turned,
is.
or 2 weeks after I turned 20. After I turned, that's right. I turned 20. I graduated in 39.
You would have to be quadruple, double promoted.
Well, you see, I got left back.
What I'm saying is you'd have to be smarter than you are.
When I
Sorry.
was in first grade, honey, I got left back. I couldn't learn to read. I think the teacher, for one thing, didn't like me. And for another thing, I think I was just slow to catch on. And when I caught on fast.
Well, one thing sort of contradicts the other right there.
Now, I became a slow reader as soon as I started in physics. Anyhow,